So, it's been 2 years, 7 months and 9 days since I uploaded my first video, and ever since then, I have made a new one every single week, 142 in total. When the first of you heard my voice for the first time, Timo Werner was still dominating the Bundesliga, Barcelona had never lost a match 8-2, and Maradona was still among us. But you still know pretty much nothing about me. Today, that will change. So, yeah, this is me. I guess it's probably gonna be a bit weird for some of you to finally see my face after so long. Yeah, I don't wanna make too much fuss about this specific moment, but I think I owe you guys one thing, and that is to tell you how thankful I am for each and every single one of you. It's like insane. It's a dream to be in this position of just making videos week in, week out for 200,000 people about football. Like, could it get any better? Without being overly dramatic, like, I just want to say thank you so much. It means the most. So yeah, I guess let's just get into the Q&A. Let's get the personal questions out of the way as well. So where am I from? I'm from Porto, in the north of Portugal, as most of you probably already realized because I've been asked that in the comments a million times by now. But not like the specific city, I just live in the district. So the actual city I'm from is Felgueiras. I don't live there anymore, but I was born there and I lived in that same city all the way up till like 4 months ago. And yeah, so I'm living in Guimarães now. It's a bit further north, and that's pretty much it. Also, I think I should say as well, my real name is Lucas. I guess that clears up a lot as well, so now you guys don't have to call me Daily Dose anymore. It's Lucas. Next question, what's the best Portuguese snack or food? Well, I'm not sure if this is like 100% specific to Portugal, but castanha assada is amazing, so I'll go with that. How tall am I? Well, somewhere between 6 foot and 6'1". In a metric system, 184. That's what I tell people at least. What is my duck size? Also, probably the most important question in this Q&A, what is love? So moving on, what got me into football in the first place? The answer is pretty simple. My father. He played football, he coached football, he did a bunch of things related to football, and yeah, ever since I was born, he was always like football, football, football. Like one of the first things I ever learned to say was pena, because he was like Porto's striker, and like every time he would score, my father would get me to say his name. Still, despite all of that, I still wasn't that much into football. And what ended up actually getting me fully into it was, I guess, the 2004 Euros, because like it was happening in Portugal, and one of my aunts and my grandma, they went over to this event and they brought me back like this little ball with like the Portuguese Federation logo and the national team's colors and all of that. I don't know, it just did something for me, because from that moment on, I just wouldn't let go of that ball, and I started learning. And on one hand, my father was really frustrated because he thought to himself, how can it be that I keep trying to make him like football and he never does, but the one time someone else tries, it just works. But I think above all, he was still pretty happy, and sooner than later I was literally playing football in like an academy and all of that. He would get to go watch me, and from there on out it just started escalating. At about the same time, I started playing FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer. I also watched a lot of games and I read the newspapers, and yeah. So did I play football myself? Well, yeah, I did. So I started playing when I was like 5 years old at FC Vizela, which is also the same club my father played for. It was actually pretty good, and he actually made it into the main team and all of that by the time he was like 17, but then he had this catastrophic injury. His meniscus went out, his ACL went out, like everything. And yeah, they pretty much just gave up on him, and for years he didn't even watch football because he was so upset at how unlucky he had been, you know. So yeah, by the time I was born, he was completely fine, so immediately put me into their academy, and it was great. It lasted for 6 years, something like that. But yeah, there was one problem. I was like the only kid that was from out of town, and yeah, the other kids weren't very nice to me, let's just say that. So eventually it just became really hard to go there. I ended up always just being outcasted and honestly really treated like, you know, So yeah, I just ended up quitting and I didn't play for like a year or two. But my friends at school, they kept telling me, oh, you gotta come and play for CAF, which is like the local team in Felgueiras. And after a few years, I went there and I played there for like a year and a half. But there was like one problem. By the end, I was playing really, really well. When the coach told us to make the teams, he would like pick 2 kids and say, oh, you can pick your teammates. And I was like always one of the first kids to get picked. I was scoring a lot of goals, but still, every single time the weekend came around, the coach just wouldn't pick me. I'm not sure why. I have this whole conspiracy theory that I told him I have asthma and maybe was worried that something would happen to me. I don't know. So yeah, now going into the football questions, let's get the big ones out of the way. Who's my favorite player of all time? So the answer is simple, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of you guys know this already. It's Ricardo Quaresma. I fell in love with him back when he was playing for Porto in, I don't know, 2007 probably. It was amazing. Like, his every single move is so aesthetically pleasing to me, it's like art in motion. And then there's the Trivela, like the Trivela is one of those things that's just so unique, so legendary. It's almost like a myth. Like when you're a kid and you hear about the Trivela, you see it as this thing that's so unattainable, at least to the level that Quaresma does it. And trust me, I've spent hours and hours and hours on football pitches just trying to perfect it, and yeah, still to this day it's not quite like Quaresma. So next question, my favorite football club. Well, this one is also pretty complex, to be honest. So the club that I was born supporting and the club that I still support to this day is Porto. I love the club, it's amazing. For years we were pretty much like the gateway for South American players into Europe, and I got to witness so many great players play for Porto. James Rodriguez, Hulk, Falcao, which by the way, that generation was incredible. Getting to watch them win the Europa League was something out of this world, and yeah, you can probably tell I'm a huge fan of André Villas-Boas. But yeah, that's not the only club that I support. My local club, sort of because I never really lived in the city, but like all of my family does, is Vizela, the one I played for, the one my father played for, and it's amazing. For years, I've dreamt about seeing them make it to the first division of Portuguese football, even if it was just like for 1 year, even if they got relegated back to the second division immediately. And it finally happened last year, and to make it all even better, they're playing amazingly. They've managed to keep themselves in the first tier, and they seem to be en route to stay there for a 3rd season, and everyone across the country is so impressed by our team. And to top off all of that, we have an amazing coach. Vizela is not one of those small teams that hides back in their box and hopes for the best. No, we take charge. We go and play against some clubs like Porto and Benfica and all of that. We're literally playing Champions League football, and every single time the other club is shocked to see how capable we are of just controlling the game. I'm really proud of them. It's genuinely one of the things that brings me the most joy in football right now. Going out and watching them on that pitch where I've literally stepped foot myself is incredible. So next question, what's my favorite goal of all time? Well, first of all, let's get this straight. I'm a sucker for long shots. Ever since I was a little kid, I was always that kid who kept trying to score goals from one goal to the other, I spent hours in my backyard just striking the ball into this wall over and over and over again, just trying to get the most power I possibly could. And yeah, obviously I ended up loving long shots. And I would say my favorite long shot of all time is Ronaldo versus Osasuna. It's so cinematic, like the way they recorded it. You can see that he notices there's no players around and he nudges the ball forward a bit and he's like, well, I guess I'm going for it. And you can see the whole trajectory of the ball. It's peak cinematic football. And yeah, if I had to pick some other goals, there's this free kick by Hulk. We were playing Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. It's almost from the halfway line and he strikes it with so much power. It's unbelievable. The goalkeeper just flies and still gets a hand on it, but it's impossible. Like it literally just bends his hand backwards and it goes into goal. Amazing. I also love the Falcao's backheel goal against Benfica when we beat them 5-0, I guess. Come on. I'm sorry to remind all my Benfica supporters of that match, but obviously it's a really nice memory for me. Also, I guess this one is like an obvious pick, but Maradona's goal of the century is amazing. There's that epic Ankara Messi goal, like that's peak football commentary. So my all-time 11, that's an impossible task, and trust me, it will probably not represent the truth. I would need like a 20-minute video in order to get the specific picks that are actually true to me. Yeah, I'm gonna give it my best, and it's gonna be the first 11 names that come to my head, and that's pretty much it. So hold on for a second, I got something that's perfect for this. Okay, so don't ask me why I have a blackboard for kids and all of that. Just bear with me, okay? So I set up this 4-3-3 formation, and yeah, just first names that come to my head. Goalkeeper, well, Buffon. Center backs, Maldini. Also, bear in mind, these are my favorite players, not necessarily the best. I'm aware some of these are not the greatest at their position, definitely. But yeah, let's go. Second one, Pep. Left back, easily, Roberto Carlos, no doubt about it. Right back, Dani Alves. Yeah, my handwriting is not the best, okay. Two midfielders, well, Pirlo, for sure. Another one, Eku. Up front, this is where it gets really tough. So, Maradona or Ronaldinho, I'm gonna go Maradona. Left side, easily, CR7. And now, Messi or Quaresma. I need Messi on this, you know? Like, this team needs Messi. So I'm gonna go Messi regardless. Up front, no doubt about it, Ronaldo, you know, the original one, phenomenal. And yeah, I guess this is pretty much it. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so who's winning the World Cup? Well, I wish I could tell you, but it's pretty hard right now. I don't think there's necessarily one team who's like miles above anyone else, you know what I mean? There's Argentina, they just won the Copa America. It's been ages since they last won the World Cup, and they have an amazing squad, so I guess they're one of the favorites. There's Brazil, finally they have a really good squad once again, and they're definitely gonna give everyone a run for the title. And besides that, honestly, it could be for anyone. Like, the next question is literally, of course, do I think as a Portuguese football fan that Portugal can win the World Cup? And honestly, if you asked me that 2 days ago, I would have said, not really. I'm not feeling it too much. Like, Diogo Jota is gone, Rafa Silva is gone, there's no Gonçalo Guedes, which isn't necessarily like one of the top picks for the team, but like he's a pretty good substitute, and I was always under the impression that it would be called up. There's Renato Sanches, who's also not coming. For a second there, it almost seemed like Pep wasn't gonna make it. Even just a few days ago, Diogo Costa, which is like the one thing we have going for us right now, seemed he had some muscular problems and people were already worrying that he would miss it. Then there's Ronaldo, who's clearly not in top form right now. And of course, I know it's Ronaldo and he always surprises everyone and comes back and suddenly he's in the greatest form of his life. But still, come on, it's not looking too hopeful. But the thing is, yesterday's game against Nigeria, well, I literally went out and watched the game at the Alvalade Stadium, and man, they played pretty well. Like, not consistently well throughout the match, but like there were some really good moments. That fourth goal was something magical, and I have to say, with an informed Felix, Bruno also scored 2 goals, so let's say he's in form as well. Just add Cancelo and Bernardo Silva playing at the top of their game, and maybe, just maybe, if Diogo Costa keeps going at the rate he is, and Ronaldo suddenly pulls up and he's playing at the peak of his game again, maybe we have a shot. I'm not gonna lie. You gotta have hope. There's always gotta be something, and I'm starting to think that maybe I'm gonna enjoy this World Cup more than I expected to. Okay, so Lucas from the future here. I just noticed that I completely skipped one of the questions, and it's like one of the most important ones. So someone asked if I'm gonna be doing some special content for the World Cup and all of that, and well, special announcement, I'm gonna be creating a second channel, and I'm gonna be posting my thoughts on everything going on with the tournament every single match day. So yeah, the link should hopefully be in the description. I'm also gonna post there a second part to this Q&A with all of the other questions that I had to skip because, well, you guys posted so many questions. There's no way I could get through them in a single video. So yeah, go click the link in the description and subscribe maybe. No? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, let's move on with the video. How do I manage to make a video every single week for so long? Well, as the great Erling Haaland once said,
hard work.
Moving on, in your opinion, what is the most underrated Wonderkid right now? So, the first person that comes to mind is Musiala. You know, he's over at the Bundesliga, people forget he even exists sometimes. You know, because football these days is so overly focused on the Premier League that, well, if you're outside of it these days, people almost forget he even exists at times. My second pick would be Diogo Costa. He's 23 now, so I guess he's not much of a kid anymore, and underrated might also be a bit of a stretch right now because he's been getting a lot of compliments on social media and a lot of attention, so maybe not him. There's also Endrick, but like everyone knows about Endrick at this point. He's been taking over the world. After some thought, I think the number one underrated Wonderkid that I would mention right now is Florian Wirtz. And I know what you're all thinking. He's been injured for 8 months. It seems like it could honestly just be over for him at this point. Back before he got injured, he was on 31 games, 10 goals, 14 assists for the season. That's absurd for a teenager. And hopefully he comes back and he's as good as ever and he goes on to live the career that he deserves. You know what I mean? So what is my favorite sport outside of football? Well, kind of weird because there's like this whole discussion that it isn't really a sport, but it's skateboarding. I no longer skate nowhere near as much as I wish I could. Actually, give me a second. Okay, so one kickflip just to prove that I still got it, I guess. I'm more proving it to myself than proving it to you guys, but yeah, I feel like I need this right now. Okay, I just realized that I'm gonna get really sweaty if I keep doing this, so moving on. So yeah, skating kind of took me out. I need to take a couple of breaths. So is the voice in the videos my normal voice, or do I put up some kind of accent? The accent is real. I'm Portuguese, I can avoid it, you know, like I'm sorry. But I guess I do put up kind of like a narrator voice. I'm not sure, you tell me. Now, this time around I'm just speaking 100% normally like I would speak to anybody else in the street. I do think that like when I narrate the videos, I do the whole in 1994 when na 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 na, you know what I mean? Like I put up like this sort of persona almost. Is it annoying? Maybe. I'm not sure. Kinda too late to change that now. So moving on, what was my first footballing memory? So really cool actually. My first football memory is being in the middle of this huge crowd. For years I wondered what they were doing and I would ask my parents and all of that. Eventually they figured it out and I was actually in the middle of the celebrations of Porto winning the Champions League. And honestly I'm really happy that that is my first memory because it would have been incredibly sad if I didn't remember a single thing about that magical moment in Portuguese football history. What's my best ever Champions League moment? Well, I was watching Real Madrid play against Juventus. You probably see where this is going by now. I was using one of those, you know, those streams you shouldn't use, supposedly. And suddenly I get a call from my dad. And he does this all of the time where he's watching on TV at home, so he knows that I'm like a little bit behind him. So if something cool happens, he will call me. And he called me that day and I could tell he was like making up conversation. I was like, what's going on? What happened? Come on, tell me. Because for some reason the stream was like really delayed. It took like 1 minute before it finally happened. But suddenly, you know, the whole deal, someone takes a shot, Buffon gets a hand on it, it goes off to the side and Carvajal sends it in and incredible. Ronaldo with a bicycle kick. I was on a phone with my dad like, oh my god, can you believe it? Did you see that? You know, it's a great memory. Now, some rapid fire questions. Porto or Benfica? Porto, obviously, by now. Prime Benzema or Prime Kaká? Well, to me, it's definitely Prime Kaká. Like, Benzema has been amazing. But yeah, Kaká was just something else, man. Mbappe or Haaland? Haaland. I'm a huge Haaland fan. The guy is out of this world. Like, the things he does don't seem possible. Who do I think will win the 2023 Ballon d'Or? Well, once again, the answer is Haaland. And yeah, finally, the one true question. The one question everybody wants to hear. Ronaldo or Messi? So it's pretty simple actually. Obviously I'm Portuguese, but also I've mentioned Barcelona a lot. I've told you that they were probably my favorite squad growing up. But yeah, when you take everything into account, My favorite player between the two is definitely